You're listening to the Friends Talking Nerdy Podcast Network.
Friends Talking Nerdy. If your friends are nerdy and you are nerdy too, I want to talk to you. Friends Talking Nerdy.
Yeah, so those who say that climate change isn't real can go suck a big one, right?
Yeah, a big pile of crap, because it has been hot here, and I've been swimming in the Willamette River, and the water temperature is 75 degrees.
Good
It's
Lord.
like Southern California.
Yeah, Southern California, those wacky bastards down there. But yeah, we have, scientists have determined that, we've recently reached the hottest the Earth has ever been, according to statistics. Now, is that 100% accurate? Maybe there have been a hotter day here and there. I'm sure, because, it's not like at the very dawn of time they were still able to properly take a recording. But science being what it is, they can measure it to a pretty significant amount of proof that, what they're saying now is correct.
Absolutely. I mean, there's tons of evidence, and the water temperature being 75 is really concerning, because fish, particularly salmon and cutthroat trout and other kinds of trout, need really cold water, and they try to traverse the Columbia and the Willamette to get up to spawning grounds. And if the water's too hot, it was like a wall. They're not able to, they just like bounce off the wall. Bah!
Well, I could just imagine some male fish be like, you know what? Getting pussy's not that important. I'm going back home.
Yeah.
That would be me as a fish. It ain't worth it.
Other things about global warming, some people say that it'll be like the frog in a pot kind of thing, where we'll just adjust so slowly that we won't even notice, but like a human from now wouldn't be able to like exist on the planet 50 years from now or something.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a point where the world needs to really work at fixing things here, because like the Death Valley temperatures, for instance, in Death Valley's the desert. I get it's going to be hot no matter what, but like it's so hot that they're telling people don't go there now, and people are still stupid and they're going there, and I guess a couple people have already died.
Whoa.
And like Phoenix or someplace in Arizona had like multiple days of temperatures over 110 degrees, which, I mean, I living in Sacramento for as long as I did, there were a couple of times we reached 120.
Whoa.
Dry heat, but it was intense. That type of, it would be like walking into like the biggest oven you could think of, like that feeling of air you get when you open the oven door and it wafts in your face.
Yeah, that's intense. I have had that wafting experience though in the South, when you be inside an air conditioning where it's the water's taken out of the air as part of the process of conditioning the air and making it cooler, right? And
stepping outside.
Sorry.
You forgot.
I forgot what I was talking about.
About how the heat in the South when you're...
Oh, right. Right. You're in the air conditioning, and then you open the door to go outside, and it hits you like a ton of bricks because it's so humid. And even though it might just be 95 or 99, it's so humid that it's like being in boiling water.
Yeah, I mean, I've told a lot of people over the years, having experienced summers in Michigan, which is bordered on most of the Great Lakes, and summers in California were two different experiences. And even though Sacramento had the occasional 120-degree weather, I much prefer the dry heat than I do humidity, because 90 degrees in Michigan on an 87% humidity day, the fucking worst. It's like you're swimming to get where you need to go.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So dry heat, but can't get too hot. I mean, things just start spontaneously combusting at some point.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not me. Poof. But this is a long-winded way to say, if you hear a droning noise in the background, it's our air conditioner. Suck it. We need to be comfortable while recording.
That's right. We really do. Because you know what? We are modern people, and we're used to air conditioning, and we're not used to laying around in the hot weather with no air conditioning.
Oh, we did in the summer as kids. Like, we didn't have an air conditioner at all when we were growing up. And,
yeah, me neither.
And so, we relied on fans.
Fans and window fans.
Yeah.
And then fans that were on you. And then fans everywhere. For ceiling fans.
Or like one of those, like, handheld fans that, like, old ladies go to use at, like, tent revivals.
Yeah, so like very languid afternoons, very sexy women sitting on their porches, glistening with sweat.
Waiting for a handsome, rugged fella to show up and give
from
them
Michigan.
Something like that, Well, we want to thank you all for tuning in on another edition of Friends Talking Nerdy. Thank you for starting your week with our show. This is Tim the Nerd here, the podcast making, public transit taking, kiss stealing, woo wheeling, dealing, son of a gun, sitting next to the beautiful, vivacious, effervescent, greatest legal mind in the Pacific Northwest. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Professor Aubrey.
Hi, everyone. What a great introduction. I appreciate it. I also enjoyed what you said about yourself.
Second week in a row, yeah. I finally got the Ric Flair thing down, because, we'll see how long that lasts, kind of like the whole sexiest voice in podcasting today. I tried for a while.
Right. It's true, you are the sexiest voice in podcasting today, but that's a pretty impressive little ditty you got going there.
Mm-hmm. So suck it, Keith Olbermann. I don't know.
Suck it.
But we are here for another week of fun. This week we're going to our main topic is going to be a little lighter because we love music here, and it's been a while since we had a music-related show, so we are definitely going to talk about our favorite cover songs.
Yeah, we're getting back into the musical jam, and we'd like to do these top 5 lists sometimes, the Nerdy Fives, and compare our tastes and answers to today's most important moral questions, and compare
exactly
to see who wins.
Yeah. When is this a competition?
It's always a competition. Everything's a competition.
No.
Oh my God, I need to go to therapy.
Yeah, I'm always suspicious of people that have to turn everything into a competition. Like Michael Jordan, for instance. Like, if I had met him in real life, I know for a fact I would hate him. The type of guy that just everything has to be, I have to win. It's like, calm the fuck down. Mm-hmm. And people will say, well, that's what got him to the top. Well, if that's what it takes to get to the top, to just be a bad person, mm-hmm. Is it worth it?
Mm-mm. Of course not. Of course not worth it.
Yeah. Well, what's been going on in your life lately?
Well, Tim, I've been doing a lot of outdoor activities the last week or so. Getting ready. I got back from Oregon Country Fair, as you know, about 2 weeks ago. And so this week has been really hot in Portland. And so the water temperature in the Willamette is, like I said, up to 75, which is perfect swimming temperature. So I've been swimming a couple times in the Willamette in the last few days, mm-hmm. Which was fun. I ate some new desserts for me from Taiwan. There's a Taiwanese dessert restaurant now in downtown Portland, which to me seems very specific. Taiwanese desserts. It's not even like Taiwanese food. It's Taiwanese desserts.
It's like having a Bulgaria breakfast restaurant. All Bulgarian breakfast food. Well,
it's sort of like kulfi. So we live next door to a building that has a retail space in the downstairs of the building, and the closest one to us is this business called Kulfi, which makes Indian walla popsicles. So they come in interesting flavors like lassi or rose water and mint, and these beautiful Indian style popsicles. And people come from all around to get them because this is the only place you can get them.
Yeah, they do, and they make lots of noise. They stand in the middle of the fucking sidewalk in groups, making you have to walk around them.
Like they're completely oblivious that they're in a city because they come from Beaverton. That's where they're all coming from. Beaverton, Hillsborough.
Church.
So
they have their drivers bring them.
It's one of those things where it makes you want to go, hey, get out of my neighborhood. Which I kind of just do. I don't see the downside of doing that.
I'd be like Dog the Bounty Hunter with some bear spray. Get out. I'm dog.
I'm big bad dog. So that happened.
Yeah. I wouldn't really do that, folks.
I also went on a group bike ride in honor of Prince. And we listened to Purple Rain and biked around town. It was really great.
Cool.
So I've been trying to keep active, keep on keeping on. I've also had like actual work to do for my job and my union repping. So I haven't really felt all that different from normal times, except I don't feel guilty if I don't work for 8 hours, and like fuck off and go swimming.
Yeah.
I let myself do that because I'm on vacation.
Amen.
Yeah.
Right. Well, been another red letter week for me. It's been great continuing to spend time with the kiddies. Like last night, like I've been working on, like sometimes when I see them trying to do something, I get scared and then try to pull them away without, thinking, without remembering that they're when I get up and give them attention, they're getting what they really crave,
right?
And I've been hesitant to let them into the bedroom just because the first time they went in there, Annie was climbing on the wall, literally with your wall. I
have a tapestry hanging behind my bed.
Yeah. And
apparently Annie tried to climb up it, which a cat will do. Fabric against a wall, like that's a cat's dream.
Yeah. But she saw, she's like, oh my god, and climbed up, and I was like, oh no, you can't be in here. And overall, I do think it is a good idea to have the bedroom be a separate space that they know is not, they don't have permission to go in there all the time.
Right.
But it is also important too to sometimes open that door and let them. And last night, having Mimsy, like, she was like sleeping on the bed with me, but she was like in the space where your pillows were and just kind of like looking at me with the closed eyes, and she would open them and be happy.
So cute. Did Annie sleep with you?
She tried, but she tried to climb on top of me, and it's just like, no, I'm gonna move, and you're not gonna like it.
Yeah, she likes to do like Sherman did, which is like, if you're on your side, he would come get on your hip and like find some place to balance on your hip. And then I was always like, well, now I can't move because Shermie needs a place to sit. And that is why he was such an asshole of a cat.
Oh, again, he wasn't. He was a good guy.
He was a good guy. He didn't know better than to be a little bit entitled.
Well, I remember the day before he ultimately passed, there was, we had the window open, and it was at night, and that was another time that Batty, if you all remember back in previous episodes, there was a black cat at our old apartment who used to hang out by the window, and I still laugh about what happened because Sherman saw him, and then immediately, because when Sherman got pissed, it was, let me out the motherfucker, this is my house, you don't do that. It's just like, calm down. I mean, I had to like he was so angry, like, if I didn't hold him in a particular way, he would have scratched me to get back to that window. Not intentionally, of course, but he was pissed.
And this is a creature that you thought was a bat. Remember?
Yeah. Initially, I thought it was. It was black and hit the screen, and I don't want to be near a bat.
So Jim goes out there and thinks it's a bat. It basically jumps out of his skin and runs away back to the bedroom.
Yeah, and I literally jumped on the bed like a Scooby-Doo thing. Jumped on the bed and hid under the covers. And then only to find out like a few days later, it was like during the day we look out, and then this black cat's just looking at me like, what the fuck you looking at? Like cats do.
Yeah, that was funny. That was really funny.
Oh, the stories we can tell, you know. But overall, I mean, I think Mimsy especially is getting a lot more open, you know, because she's still an introverted cat, but, you know, I think with me, she's definitely being a lot more loving than she has been as well. Having said that, you're still her human.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You can tell?
Yep. Just how, you know, like I said last week, how she'll pop up on that chair by the door and when she hears somebody coming up the stairs and she's waiting for you.
Oh my goodness, that is so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That is so sweet. What a sweet kitty.
Those kitties, yes, but don't you love cover songs?
You know, a good cover song can be better than a good original song.
Yeah, it seems music is really the only art form I can think of to where you have a second artist take the work of of the first artist and, you know, with the same words create something new, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, because like you tried something like that in books, you're gonna get sued. You know, like if I wanted to write like a Jack Ryan novel, he's the main character from the Tom Clancy books, you know, I can't. You know, that's plagiarism, or, you know, that would just not be cool unless they officially hired me. But music, cover songs are just, they've always been the norm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a good cover song too, like, you know, we've talked about songs in the past, like, you know, All Along the Watchtower, Jimi Hendrix, Proud Mary from Tina Turner. When you get an artist that can do magic like that, you know, with a little help from my friends, Joe Cocker.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, they can end up owning the song in a lot of ways.
Yes,
I mean, because each of the three artists I just mentioned, the original writers of the song said they did it best.
Yeah, the original writers of the song, exactly. Or I'm fine with them doing it.
Yeah.
Like, Dolly Parton has never said that Whitney Houston does it best, but she said that she loves that Whitney Houston sang her song.
Yep.
Because it made her filthy rich.
But remember, though, Dolly, I believe Dolly takes that money from the residuals from that song and invests it in local inner city schools in Tennessee.
You know, she does all kinds of things like that. That's why she's one of my favorite people in the world.
And I can't wait for her rock album. And I absolutely love the fact that, you know, like she does have she does work with Paul McCartney on the album. She will.
Nice.
But, you know, she also went to Rob Halford from Judas Priest. She went to Nikki Sixx, the bass player and main songwriter for Motley Crue. Like, she did really well in terms of working with the full gamut of what rock can offer, and it was shocking to hear that you know, she did that. But kudos to her, and kudos to those metal artists as well, because I think like metal is in a lot of ways still kind of a maligned art form. You know.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think there's a social stigma from where I come from around being a metal fan. Like, there just aren't metal fans, or there are very few, and the ones that there are don't do a good job. Like, they just always have earphones on and, like, not talking to anybody, and like the people who were attracted to metal were usually kind of like
me
outside the norm.
Me.
And so that, you know, made it interesting.
Yeah, and you know, I guess that comes to mind too, because of the documentary we were watching just before we started recording, the Dio documentary, which I've seen before. But it does seem like over the past few years that metal is finally getting some acceptance for its importance in music history. Does that mean, do I think like a metal artist will win like best album at the Grammys? No, there's still snobs that way. But I think overall people are coming to respect it a lot more than they have.
Yeah, I think you're right. The number of times I see it mentioned or I see a metal artist mentioned has definitely increased, I think.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Drinking game. There we go.
Ooh, there you go. 2 drinks.
Yeah, but what we did this week is we created a playlist for you detailing some of our favorite cover songs. Now, favorite doesn't mean best. What do I mean by that? You can. It's like we've talked about in music before. Our work that is considered the best that an artist can do can be different from what you just enjoy. And, that's kind of the mindset I went in with this. And I think we both made a concerted effort to bring up material that we haven't talked about a lot on the show already here.
Yeah.
Because, again, All Along the Watchtower is a classic, but everybody knows it by this point.
Yeah.
So we each chose 5 songs that were covers, and we're going to be talking about them a little bit. What we've done for you as well, you can find us in the show description. If you click the link, it will bring you to an Apple Music playlist we created with the original version of the songs that we choose and the cover.
Nice. So you can go listen to both of those and see what the differences are.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it as we dive in, but there are definitely some nice dichotomies in terms of how people approach the music. But how about you start off with your first choice?
Okay. So this song was a song that I had never heard the original before I heard the cover, and loved the cover. When I found out it was a cover, immediately went to the original artist and found it and listened to it and thought, wow, that's even better than this song that I loved before. So it's one of my favorites, but both the original and the cover are my favorites. And this is The Man Who Sold the World, originally by David Bowie and covered by Nirvana.
Yeah, we've talked about Nirvana on the show before, especially on my birthday episode. I talked about it on Tim's Tremendous Tapes, of course. I'm in the same boat with you when it comes to this, because even David Bowie, if you had asked him when Nirvana released that in '94, is "The Man Who Sold the World" your best song? No, he wouldn't have said that. But it was watching Nirvana Unplugged over the course of a couple of days after it was announced that, he had committed suicide, that just every song hit to the core.
Yeah.
And it was so sad, too, because, this could have been the direction they went in. What if they did get a little more mellower? I mean, they could have done so many more things. But at the very least, they were also students of music. The best musicians are just students of music, and they're going to be able to go in and take that obscure track from somebody else. I mean, David Bowie himself, said it was because of Nirvana that made him really reconsider, how good that song was. Mm-hmm. So that is the beauty, honestly, of what a cover artist can do. Yeah. Not only make it their own in a lot of ways, but, kind of open your eyes to, hey, try this guy out. I like him. If you like my music, you're going to love his.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's how I've gotten introduced to some bands through covers, where I know the original, and then I hear the cover, and I think, oh my God, I love that cover. And then you go to the musician and see their other work. And sometimes I like their other work, and other times I'm like, oh, I really just like that song, because I don't like anything else they did.
Yeah, I mean, Bowie, though, what would you put him? Is he a greatest hits? Is he,
For
love
me?
everything he does? Yeah.
I love everything he does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even his early days when he was still David Jones?
I mean, I think it's interesting. I think he was always interesting.
That he was. And we can thank the Monkees for his name.
Really? Why?
Because his real name is David Jones. And the Monkees were out at the time with Davy Jones, and he changed his name to David Bowie so people wouldn't, mistake the two. I mean, yeah, so thank you, Davy Jones.
Right, because if not, we would be stuck here with a David Jones.
David Jones album, yeah. Anyway, shall I go on with my first choice?
Yes, please let us know.
Okay, what do you think of George Thorogood and the Destroyers?
I don't ever think of them.
Like Bad to the Bone, songs like that.
Oh, Bad to the Bone.
Yeah.
Tropes. Rock and roll tropes. Like, if I didn't know the name of that band, I would just be like, that's the rock and roll band. It sounds like the other rock and roll band.
Yeah, what I dig his music. He's one of those, but to be clear though, he's one of those people that I like a few of his songs, not necessarily a greatest hits artist, but he came around around the time that disco was still a huge thing, and this is kind of like the counter programming to it. But has made some great songs, and one song of his that he did that I enjoy is a cover of a Hank Williams song, "Move It On Over."
Move it on over.
Yeah, and it's, to me, what I love about this is just a really fun song. He definitely puts more oomph in it compared to the Hank Williams version, because he tackles it more the blues way than the straight country way that Hank Williams did, but it's not too much of a stretch. It's still believable. I mean, you would assume, I guess, that if Hank Williams were alive when the song, when George Thorogood's cover of the song came out, that he may have gone along with more of that musical sensibility.
Yeah, I mean, you said that about Nirvana, too, this idea that maybe the bands would have changed, or maybe they are influencing each other in an iterative process as we go through time. Mm-hmm. That's what she said.
I know. But again, I love it. It captures the spirit of the original song. This is not one that I would put in the category of like your All Along the Watchtowers. Like, George Thorogood didn't make this song his own. But that's still not a bad thing. It's still a great cover to a great song.
Yeah.
All right. What is your next choice?
My next choice is Mad World. Originally performed by Tears for Fears, and then later performed by Gary Jules. Actually, Michael Andrews and Gary Jules. Have you heard either of these?
In preparation for the episode, yes, but not before.
Okay. It's kind of a broody new wave thing. Not new age.
Yeah, skinny white British people complaining about how bad life is.
Yeah, and saying that they're druids. No, that's not what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Not at all. It's a new wave kind of 80s band, Tears for Fears. And Gary Jules is a relatively modern, like I'd say in the last 15 years, kind of modern, mostly singer-songwriter with a beautiful voice and a nice way of playing the guitar. And he just, picked a good song to cover. And it went from a more faster version, the original, to a way more chilled out, sort of like what you were talking about with The Man Who Sold the World. And that sort of being different for Nirvana, and maybe they could have gone in that direction. Same thing for
Mr. Jules.
Mr. Gary Jules, right? Where, the cover is really what got him noticed. And had he not done the cover, he never would have been noticed. Yeah. So, that's my next pick.
Yeah, I mean, I've not, in terms of like Tears for Fears, I've never really been a huge fan of groups like that, but doesn't mean they haven't put out good work. They did Everybody Wants to Rule the World, right?
Yes.
That good song, and that was also the theme song to Dennis Miller Live on HBO before he went all super conservative.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Indeed. Shall I go on with my choice?
Please go on with your choice, Tim.
All right. When I first heard this song, I didn't realize it was a cover. Have you heard of Joss Stone?
I have heard of Joss Stone, yes.
Yeah, the first album she put out was not originally intended to be put out. It was she wanted a proper album first with songs that she wrote, but I guess record executives were so impressed with her voice that they sent her in to record the album called The Soul Sessions. And the main single from that track was the song Fell in Love with a Boy. And she's like a super intense soul song. Really love it. Great bass work. What is the name of that soul band? Sharon Jones and
Sharon Jones and the... God, they're so good.
Yeah. Keep talking.
Sharon Jones is a woman singer, and she has a band.
And the Dap Kings.
Dap Kings. Yes, Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. You got to check them out.
Yeah, the Dap Kings actually were the background band for the Joss Stone album, The Soul Sessions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, like when, we first discovered Sharon Jones at that restaurant, I had heard that band before. And it was it was with this song, and it's a really good, funky soul cover, get you dancing, and the fact that it's a hot chick singing the song as a guy, you're like, oh my god, I love this song. But I didn't realize that song was a cover of a White Stripes song called Fell in Love with a Girl. Jack White, we've talked about him on the show before. The song is pretty much a traditional just punk song, just really short, less than 2 minutes, and just like 3 riffs maybe in the song. And Meg White in the band wasn't the most prolific drummer in the world, but basic boom, boom smash, she was great at that.
Boom smash.
Yeah, but what I like about this, and there'll be a couple other times even with one of your choices, but what I liked about this is you have the same song, but it can mean different things when it's sung by a man compared to a woman.
Right. For a person of different gender.
Yeah. You get my point. But really loved that song. Definitely recommend both of them.
Awesome. I'm going to check that out, and Joss Stone in general.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my next choice is a Prince song, just like I was celebrating Prince last night at the Prince bike ride. It is covered by Sinead O'Connor. That means you probably know what it is. It's Nothing Compares to You, a very, very, very popular song for Sinead O'Connor, perhaps her biggest hit.
Yeah.
And was originally a Prince song. And it is an interesting one because while Prince later published a version of the song, Sinead was the first person to publish a version of the song. So it was written by Prince, but it wasn't performed by Prince until after it was performed by Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah, if I recall, I think her covering that song didn't really sit right with him apparently, because I guess there was chicanery, in the music industry at the time that, allowed his record company to distribute some of his songs to other artists without him really realizing it. And then I think, and my understanding was that he did come out with his version as more of a response. Now, I don't know if his issues were necessarily with Sinead. He probably, because he had his own issues with Warner Brothers Records over the years, and I think he was wise enough to see if somebody was in a position to where they could really do something, or if they just had to, here's a song, sing it type of deal,
Mm-hmm.
But, my understanding is he wasn't necessarily happy with that.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And I remember when the Sinead's version came out on MTV, I seem to recall, one of the MTV VJs at the time, maybe Downtown Julie Brown. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but it seemed to imply that she sang the song for a child that she had that died young.
Oh wow.
Which, based on the lyrics, doesn't necessarily make sense apart from the title.
Right.
Because the lyrics themselves are just talking about a relationship. You break up with somebody and then realize, oh, nothing compares to you, blah, 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 type of deal, but that's what I remember.
Right.
I remember a lot of shit.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
All right, shall I go on?
Please go on.
All right, please, let's get this over with. I'm kidding. Buck Owens, what do you think of him?
I love Buck Owens. I think that Buck Owens is one of the most influential country artists. As an artist himself, great performer, and those folks sang for 60, 70 years on the road singing a lot.
I mean, I was first introduced to him thanks to Hee Haw, so for the longest time, I was like, he's a part of that. I don't care what he did, And if you saw Hee Haw, you probably get why.
Especially if you're a Michiganer.
Yeah, but over time, like becoming a Beatles fan, on the album Beatles for Sale, Ringo sings Act Naturally, a Buck Owens song. And, like you see a picture of Buck Owens in a stage uniform with the rest of his band, you're thinking, why are the Beatles playing one of his songs? You do a deep dive on Buck Owens' music, though, and you get why. Like Buck Owens, to your point, like it wrote some of the most emotionally rich songs in country music history, including this one here, Together Again, and I included the cover from Emmylou Harris. And this is another instance of the same song, sung behind the eyes of a feminine presence, ends up meaning something different.
Well, yeah, it changes the perspective of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it when there's no gender in the thing, so you can't. So it's just genderless.
Well, yeah, and the lyrics aren't referring to the specific sex of the singer in question or anything like that. But I think it's just natural to assume a different set of intentions, I guess, with the main character of the story in question, of the song in question.
I see what you're saying in terms of being able to relate.
Yeah.
I just, I'm very focused on, and I'm sure you are as well, figuring out all this gender stuff, like,
oh yeah,
how we should talk about things, and not only how we should talk about things, but what does it mean? It's a little bit of destroying a paradigm. Getting rid of the idea of gender is revolutionary.
Yeah, because, like, I'm referring to this idea of what I feel women are, I guess, if that makes sense, when I hear a song like this, and I shouldn't necessarily think like that for each and every instance, because women are people too. Shock, I know.
Right, and some of them are going to be, what you perceive as feminine, mm-hmm. and some of them definitely aren't.
Yep.
Right. So, is it a feminine thing, or is it a
societal
nostalgia
thing?
Or what you're feeling is not a feminine presence, maybe, but a nostalgia or a sort of romantic in the more general sense, like vignettes and stuff.
Indeed.
Anyway, that's interesting.
Yeah, but again, great song, and if you have not heard Buck Owens, on Tim's Tremendous Tapes, I did recommend a recent Greatest Hits collection that came out. Like his guitar player, one of the best damn guitar players I've ever heard, and not ever heard, but just damn, he's good. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you will be surprised if your only knowledge of Buck Owens is through something like Hee Haw. Don't be like me. Take the time out of your day to listen to his music, and to Emmylou Harris, because like she is a great interpreter. Like I compare what she did on this album to like what Sinatra did on his albums. She became the song and made it her when she was singing. It's really good.
Yeah, Emmylou, I love her. I've always loved her. Loved her.
All right, what is your next one?
My next one is Sweet Jane, originally by the Velvet Underground and covered by the Cowboy Junkies. And for one thing, I just loved the Cowboy Junkies. I loved their name. I loved how they looked. I loved what they said. I was just way into them as like a teenager or preteen maybe. And so they came out with this song, and it's so like slow and lusty and languid. And and I was, a teenager. And so I thought it was very sophisticated. The Cowboy Junkies sounded like a sophisticated band. And so that's the first time I heard that song. And then much later in life, I got to know the Velvet Underground and hear the original version, which I find to be altogether more compelling than the cover. But I loved the cover until I heard the original.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Velvet Underground had a track on the very first album I ever purchased. That was the soundtrack to the movie The Doors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's essentially a Doors' greatest hits album, and I'm not going to complain about that. But it also included a lot of Jim Morrison's poetry, because in the '70s, the remaining members of the band actually released an album putting music to Jim Morrison's poetry that he read before he died. But they also had O Fortuna. You probably don't know what I'm talking about, but you've heard it. I can guarantee you've heard it. And they had Heroin from the Velvet Underground, because the Velvet Underground actually had interactions with the Doors and are represented in the movie.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, that was my introduction to the Velvet Underground. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan of theirs, but I mean, I get their importance in music history. To me, I guess Lou Reed was overplayed the moment Marky Mark tried to do his song.
Well, I remember getting to know Lou Reed as Lou Reed, the solo artist, and then only later realizing that he was the front man for the Velvet Underground.
I loved that he was so pissed off at a record label that demanded he do one more album that he released an album of essentially static. Called it like metal music or something like that. But, that stuff like that I enjoy. But shall I go on with my next one?
Yes, please.
Yes, there are some times in your life to where everything just seems to be going to shit and you just have to sit there and say, "Phenomena."
Phenomena.
Yes, the classic song that you heard from The Muppet Show is actually a cover of the same song, Phenomena, from a gentleman by the name of Piero Umiliani. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but Jim Henson discovered this song in a Swedish softcore porn movie. But even the original version, I mean, we were listening to it earlier, even the original version does have that bouncy feel that, what Jim Henson was able to do. But the Muppets, my goodness,
Oh my God, they can just take anything and make it gold.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, and they use a different puppet, but the voice Henson was using was similar to what he does with Rolf.
Right.
Yeah, and the Snoths, the two little pink creatures, was Frank Oz. I initially thought it was like two different Muppeteers at first, but, when they're singing and going like that, and there was a time on Twitter where I was like, I didn't realize that was Frank Oz, and I tagged Frank Oz, and, I said that made me respect him all the more, because if you think about it, doing that does take work and practice, and Frank Oz actually liked that tweet.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so...
Did you reach out to him and say thanks for liking my tweet?
No. I mean, because why would he... Just the fact that he did that meant a lot to me.
Right.
Kind of like, when Mark Hamill's liked a couple of my tweets in the past.
Yeah.
It's like, Luke Skywalker, yeah.
Luke Skywalker likes what I said.
Yeah, but I love these songs because, like, the original sounds like something you would hear, like, in a French cafe. Just like you're ordering. Yeah, it's like you're ordering a cappuccino or something like that, and the song is just playing in the background. And, it's fun. I mean, the Muppets movie from 2011 that Jason Segel did just ends with this song, and it was absolutely perfect.
I love this song so much. Anytime I hear it, I'm happy. Anytime I see it, I'm ecstatic because, like you said, the puppetry is wonderful in that video.
Indeed.
Or on that show.
Now, we have
my
your
turn.
last choice.
My last choice. Okay, this was making me cry earlier. So this song is by Kate Bush, and it's called This Woman's Work. And it was covered by a a person named Maxwell. You know Maxwell?
Yeah, I know. When you say the word Maxwell, there are going to be a number of women from our generation who will definitely have moist panties really quickly. He was like one of those artists that if you brought a young lady home and you had that song playing, you're probably getting some.
What?
Yeah.
Women can be that influenced by music?
Yes.
Really?
It takes other things too. It's not the only thing. You know, it's not like if she finds you repulsive and you put on a Marvin Gaye song, she's going to be like, oh, what the hell? You know, but It's just everything together, but with the right song. Amen, brother.
Yeah. So, this song I first heard in a movie. It was a Ricky Gervais movie. And some people really hate Ricky Gervais for reasons related to his performances. Other people hate him for reasons related to his politics. Other people hate him because he's a bit of a turf and a swerf, and that means a trans exclusionary radical feminist. He may not be a radical feminist, but certainly seems to be trans exclusionary to the same extent that J.K. Rowling. Maybe less than J.K. Rowling, but like defended J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, audience, feel free to contact me and contact us on social media. You can hit the link in our show profile, but I think he's saying that she should have the right to say what she does, but he's not doing the route she does of, you know, financially supporting organizations that are actively trying to harm trans people out there.
Right.
You know, I mean, because that's the bad thing about anything related to Harry Potter. You know, if like a new video game, a Harry Potter video game hits it big, she's going to be on there on social media using that to, hey, the new Harry Potter video game is great, and support this organization. Mm-hmm. You know, that it doesn't sit well with me, which is why I don't support her work myself.
Yeah. I believe in not giving money to people they're boycotting people, essentially. Mm-hmm. If they're doing fucked up stuff. So anyway, the first time I heard this was in a Ricky Gervais series called Extras. Mm-hmm. And the premise was extras that work in movies and TV shows, and sort of their conversations and their lives and what was happening with them instead of what was going on with the stars. But it had lots of cameos by stars who acted in ways that were stereotypical of fancy actors and actresses. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that happens is that his best friend, Ricky Gervais' best friend, goes through a personal awakening and realizes that she has been, you know, living the life of a young person, a singleton in London, kind of good time girl. She's really 35, right? And she realizes, I don't have a career, I don't have anything, all I do is be an extra, and I'm never going to become an actress at this rate. But she just keeps doing it until she finally is like, I have to get a regular job. And so the job she gets is cleaning. And so they played this song, This Woman's Work, while they're showing footage of her like scrubbing toilets and scrubbing the floor and washing mirrors and like doing her job as a house cleaner. And then at the end of the song, just being like, sitting on some stairs with some rubber gloves on, looking exhausted. I thought it was a brilliant choice of song for that scene, mm-hmm. but also just a heartbreakingly beautiful song by Kate Bush. The version from Maxwell is very similar in tone, I'd say. It's not a departure. It is a reproduction, mm-hmm. and I prefer the original.
Gotcha.
Have you ever heard either of these songs or Kate Bush? You talked about Kate Bush.
Yeah, because of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm like, have I ever really heard her music? Not really. I mean, what I have heard, not my style. I mean,
yeah.
Not enough of screaming, no guitar solos.
Oh, yeah. But it's a song that makes me cry every time I hear it. And I've kind of grown out of wanting to hear songs that make me cry. But I used to like that.
Songs can be like an audio version of alcohol when you are in an emotional moment. They can wrench those experiences from you and make you feel better at the end of it after you're crying and whatnot. I mean, that's kind of been the way for me for certain songs over the years.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain songs that sort of bring you hope when you feel hopeless, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, shall I go on with my last choice?
Your last choice, let's hear it.
My last choice is not a crazy choice. The song in question, most people are probably familiar with the cover and not the original. And when I found out who wrote this song, it blew my mind. Mm-hmm. We're talking Crazy. From Patsy Cline, written and originally performed by Willie Nelson. Mm-hmm. This again, one of those situations. We have a cat alert here. We have Mimsy, who just climbed into one of the crates that the professor has out for the camping that she's doing here. So I'm going to not freak out and let her explore.
Yes, don't freak out. It's okay. She'll figure it out. She's a cat.
And she'll fall, and anyway. But
she'll land on her feet.
Yeah. But break something along the way. I don't know. Anyway, Crazy. One hell of a song. It's sung, like, what I've found for me with country music, at least, is like, I had to live life first before I could understand what some of these songs were. And the cat's testing my patience, folks. But when you've had your heart broken a few times, like, this song just epitomizes that feeling of, why did I love this person who hurt me, and why do I still love this person who hurt me? Mm-hmm. And this is also, again, another one of those, they're both, the Willie version and the Patsy version are both pretty much done in the same way musically, but you just have different ideas of what the song means to the person that's singing it at that time. But what do you think about Crazy?
This is definitely one of my favorite songs. I loved it from the time I heard it in the Patsy Cline biopic. I don't know if you've ever seen it, called Crazy.
Nope. It's called Sweet Dreams.
Oh, Sweet Dreams.
With Jessica Lange.
With Jessica Lange, yes.
Her career comeback after the disaster that was King Kong.
Yeah, King Kong was terrible. But she was good in this as Patsy Cline.
Yeah.
And that's where I first heard the song, and I didn't even know it was written by Willie Nelson until many years later. And that's interesting about Willie, because he worked as a songwriter in sort of the songwriting sweatshops.
Yep. And
this was one of the songs that just got sold in Nashville, and somebody thought Patsy Cline ought to sing it, so she did.
And yeah, I mean, this is one of those things too that made me interested in country music, because, like, growing up, we had an oldie station, and a lot of the songs that they ended up playing, I didn't realize were country songs, because it wasn't a lot of what was called country in the 60s wasn't necessarily the twangy music, the southern accent and whatnot. You had, songs that could pass for pop, but were just from a country artist.
Right.
And kind of in the same boat with you. I mean, like I mentioned, my mother was a big country fan. She saw Loretta Lynn in concert and all that, and she loved the Coal Miner's Daughter movie with Loretta Lynn, but she saw Sweet Dreams as well. And at the time, I didn't care for it, but this is around the time where, like, Ghostbusters was out. So for me, it was just like,
how could it compare to Ghostbusters?
I know, right? Mm-hmm. But again,
sliming.
Sliming.
Getting slimed.
There you go. Do that later. Anyway.
Never fails.
There you go. But again, like, if you've ever had your heart broken, this song is going to speak to that. And just it's beautiful overall. And like Patsy Cline This is not the only song she did, of course. She has a lot of other great stuff. If you haven't really checked out her work and are just familiar with this or Sweet Dreams, take some time out of your day. If you're doing the dishes, put on a Patsy Cline Greatest Hits album. That's all you need to do, really. Just
sure.
Yeah, listen to her music. But it shows too the beauty of what a good cover song can do. Like I said, music is really one of the only art forms where you can take an actual piece from somebody else and redo it, but redo it in a personal way to you and make it good. So I hope you all take the time out of your day to enjoy this playlist here. Did you have any final words for the folks at home?
Well, I do hope they check out the playlist, because I listened to it and it was great, and it was nice to hear the different versions of the songs. So I do encourage people to do that. And I think this was a really fun exercise. I think we should do something like this every once in a while.
Indeed. Yeah, just we'll have a cover song series.
Yeah, sure.
But I think that will wrap it up then. The strike in Hollywood is still going on. The SAG-AFTRA on their website have, told the general public on things they can do to help support the strike. They still encourage you to go see movies and watch TV. They're not looking for a boycott, but they are saying stuff like, if a studio reaches out to you, don't do the work that a person who is in a union would do, because that makes you a scab, and that would pretty much guarantee that even if you did get that one shot, you're not getting another shot when a strike's done. And also they do have a fund that they are asking people to donate to that financially supports the actors and actresses that are really being hurt by this. The ones that are the extras, that have to take on the other work. Because their work is just as important, if not more so, than that of the big stars. When you think of Hollywood, most people do make the mistake of only thinking that Hollywood is just for the ultra rich, but it's powered by the work of average people.
Yeah.
So definitely take some time to, and also they did say too on social media, show support there. Because Hollywood, as we've seen over the years, will listen to campaigns like that. They are affected by what social media says, and if a majority of the people on social media are saying I stand with the actors and the writers, studios will pay attention here. But I'll make sure to have the link to the SAG-AFTRA stuff in the show description here, because we support the workers.
Absolutely. Workers unite, solidarity.
Yeah, they're like that song, that you sang, "There is power in a union." There definitely is, because the people that own these companies want the workers to think they don't have that power. One of the things they do to try to cut that power away from you is to do the whole, you shouldn't tell people how much you make. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Never do that. It's not legal. There is no law stating you can't tell your fellow employees how much you make. But two, the reason they're doing that is that they don't want you to know that you're potentially getting screwed, because you could be working at a company for 3 years and then somebody new gets hired in that's doing your same job but gets paid more than you.
Yep.
And it's not that I think that there shouldn't be compromise, and not that I am against people that own a business to make money off of that business, but not all the money. Like John Cusack came out on social media and says that, do you remember the movie Say Anything? Him holding the radio? He had it in his contract that, he would be getting royalties from that film. He's not received a dime.
Whoa.
And the studio keeps on saying that the film that costs less than $15 million to make has lost $44 million.
Whoa.
Which, it wasn't a big hit in theaters, but it definitely made up for it with cable and DVD and home video and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So there is Hollywood math out there.
Right.
Like Kevin Smith talked about some of the Hollywood math that the Weinsteins put him through, how the production to Clerks was charged for a party that was to support Goodwill Hunting. Which doesn't make sense, but that's what Hollywood does. They continually mask what things are truly making, so that the people that are actually making it are screwed.
Yeah, they have no way to negotiate.
Yep. So support your fellow workers out there, because even though it's Hollywood, even though they are actors, they are workers, and the entertainment is the biggest export that America has.
That's right.
And if you don't want shitty TV, you support the actors. So, anything else?
Not at all.
All right. We thank you all for listening. Each Monday we'll have something in this podcast space to entertain your ear holes. Until we meet again, we bid you adieu.
And farewell.
Bye-bye.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.